Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure for me to be here at the first Agile conference in Greece. It's a very good thing. It's also my first visit to Athens. As a German, I have a deep and strong relationship with Greece. I don't have to explain, right? We love each other and we want to hug all the time and understand more. And so I'll stay for the weekend and try to get to understand this. So I stay for the election. Okay, so it's good to be here. For me, the Agile community, I suppose you consider yourselves members of the Agile community. Maybe for a longer time, maybe you just joined yesterday or today. For me, the Agile community is something relatively new. I've been part of it, I would consider myself being part of it as well for 4 or 5 years. The first time I heard deeply about it was in 2006 or 2007 when my brother came up to me. He had read my second book at the time, in 2007. And he said, Niels, the kind of thing that you talk about and write about, it's just like Scrum for entire organizations. Because he had just done a training as a Scrum Master. And I thought, oh, this is great, I had heard of Scrum, let's talk about it. And we discovered that there's nothing more precise than that sentence. What I will tell you about is how to turn entire organizations agile, or scrummed. How to turn entire organizations into really cool things. Now the good thing, talking after these guys from Spotify, is that they already gave us a cool example of how it works, how it could work, what the basic principles or values or underlying assumptions are. But I recently wrote an article about why it's totally impossible to learn anything from these guys from Spotify. You cannot learn a damn fucking thing from them. If you were able to learn from them, the world would already be totally different, because you would have learned not just from Spotify, well, this is great. This is a new thing. I have never had that.
They have light, you have a light.
Is somebody making a statement on what I said just? What the hell? Okay. He leaned on the switch. Yeah. Okay, so he's such a sucker. I mean, we only know each other for an hour and he's already doing this kind of thing. It seems like an old relationship. So, again, you cannot learn a fucking thing from Spotify. Why? You haven't learned a fucking thing. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but we haven't learned a damn thing from Toyota, from Southwest Airlines, from W.L. Gore, or any other of those great companies that have been around for 30, 40, 50 years. Like Semco. Have you heard of the case example Semco from Brazil? Fantastic, hyper-democratic company. We haven't learned much from them. And there are good, bad reasons why it's so damn difficult to learn from them. And I want to explore these things with you a little bit. What are the mental barriers, the barriers in our head that keep us in ridiculous, command and control, top-down, bureaucratic, stupid, stifled, horrific organizations? Most of the time. Not the Spotifys of this world, but most of our organizations. Just to check, who would consider him or herself already being part of such an organization that is highly autonomous and so on, highly decentralized? 3, 4 people? And you are from startups or 5 people? Startups?
Dev house.
A what?
Software developer house.
Software developer house, but is it small or big?
It's quite small.
Quite small.
150.
150 people, okay, that's already quite big to be autonomous like that, okay? So few of you are in that kind of super cool, liberated, highly decentralized, autonomous teams like networked organizations. The question is why? I want to explore that with you. Now, one starting point, when I met the Agile community again a few years ago, one of the first people I heard about was a guy who used fancy, funny little illustrations like this one. You have probably never heard about the guy. He's from the Netherlands and he's not very nobody knows him, I think. His name is Jürgen. Nobody has ever heard of him, I think. But I just wanted to clarify. When I saw his illustrations, I thought the content is so-so. Not so good. But the illustrations are really good. So I started using these kinds of illustrations. I wrote a book around this kind of content that I already had, and I used this kind of illustrations. We ultimately remade the illustrations, but Jürgen Appelo actually was kind enough to borrow me his illustrations. And so you will recognize, if you know his work, you will recognize some of the images. The content will be totally different. Okay? So I come from the Beyond Budgeting movement, and one of the first things that we in this movement, in the Beyond Budgeting movement, that is very similar. Do we have to hurry to the exit? One of the first things in the Beyond Budgeting movement that we figured out was that budgeting or annual planning is total nonsense. Who of you works in a company where you do budgeting, annual planning, financial planning? Quite a few, right? At least half of you, okay? Most companies have that. And we ask ourselves, well, it doesn't really work, and it creates so many problems. Why do we do it? And we don't know the alternative. We also ask ourselves, why are bosses so important? Why do we have bureaucratic struggles? Why is growing so difficult? Why is creating, reorganizing, regrouping, reteaming so difficult? All or most of the companies encounter the very same problems, and we ask ourselves the very same questions. For example, how do we motivate our people? Why are they demotivated? How does this thing with performance work, and how do we stimulate it more? How do we get more out of it? Of course, the guys from Spotify gave a couple of answers to that. But I would like to take you into the theory part. And I would like to start with one of the messed up, fucked up assumptions about change. One of them is that you can change culture. Who believes you can change culture? It's fucked up. It's fucked up, yes. If you hold your hand up, I will blame you. I will dismiss that immediately. You cannot change culture. Many of us believe. Can you imagine?
Of course, to the wars.
Of course, we're going to do it. How?
You can change it to the wars.
In the wars?
Yeah, you can change the culture to the wars. It's very easy.
Through the?
To the wars. You can make it worse.
To the worse. You can make it worse. No.
It's very easy.
Yeah, okay, I know what you mean. The problem with culture is that culture is like a shadow. Culture is like a shadow. It follows an organization everywhere. Every organization has a culture, but you cannot change it. Just like a shadow, you cannot change your shadow. Have you ever changed your shadow? We can change the thing that creates the shadow, or we can just wait until the sun rises or goes down and the shadow changes by itself. Culture is just like that. We cannot produce it or destroy it directly, or we cannot make it better. We cannot reach a desired. All culture management projects are totally stupid crap, because we cannot change culture. We can only change the system. We can change the organization itself, and then the shadow will change. Culture is an interesting thing to observe, but we cannot manipulate, steer it, control it, or govern it. So many of the things that we believe about change are just ridiculous, like this assumption, like, we can change, we have to change culture. I love it when people talk about, we have to increase trust. This is the most stupid thing we can say. I mean, of course, many organizations lack trust. You can observe that. There's no trust. There's actual mistrust. Now, the problem is you cannot build trust, and I cannot tell him, I trust you, you trust me, hey, let's sign a poster. We have that a lot in Germany, that kind of workshops, where hundreds of people sign posters where they say, we want to be a trust-based organization. Of course, that doesn't change a thing. So we cannot, many of the things that we would like to have, like performance, quality, speed, trust, culture, good customer relationship, we cannot really manage them, handle them, control them. We can only do things that will produce these outcomes that are uncontrollable by themselves. And one of the reasons why we are stuck in, I believe, obsolete and wrong assumptions is that we inherited an organizational model from the industrial age that our colleagues from Spotify already talked about a little, this pyramid way of thinking about organizations. Now, the good thing can tell you about this is the idea of the pyramid organizations where people are on top steering is just an illusion. It was never real. It just, and that's the bad part, it seemed to work. In the industrial age, this kind of organization, managers on top and non-thinking workers at the bottom, it seemed to work. Now, who is the inventor of this? Let's just honor the inventor of management. Do you know who the inventor of management is? The idea of putting managers at the top who steer to the bottom and people then will follow, command and control management. Who's the inventor of management? Because this is Frederick Taylor. The essence of management, the great idea of Frederick Winslow Taylor, that he published about in 1911, his great idea to the world, his gift to the world, was to say, we can steer organizations in the industrial age if we put thinkers on top and doers at the bottom. The doers don't have to think anymore, they just follow the instructions, the orders. They follow the instructions, the mandates. That was a great idea for the industrial age. Unfortunately, no, not unfortunately. It was a great idea for the industrial age, period. Second fact, industrial age, over. Management, the social technology, as invented by Frederick Taylor and as adopted by probably 99% of all organizations in Greece, in Europe, and the world, died. Management, the social technology, died in the 1970s. It has been a dead horse, or as I like to call it, a zombie technology since then. Management is a zombie technology from the industrial age. Anyone ever met a zombie? The zombie, of course, he or she doesn't know he or she is dead. It just wants to, you know, it wants to suck and bite and that kind of stuff. So management doesn't know it's dead, and that's the tricky part. We have to change that. So this is management, the social technology. It's based upon this is funny, we have the same intro. The guys from Spotify show the very same structure, right? Bosses on top, competent people at the bottom, silos, departments, well-organized, structures, processes, rules, everybody follows orders, fantastic. The problem is that this doesn't work anymore, and the reason is this. The reason is that the key reason why management, the social technology, died is the difference between complicated and complex. We probably have a lot of experts on complexity here. But again, what's the difference between complicated and complex? A complex system, it has different features than a complicated system, right? A good example for a complicated system is the microphone that our friend here had in his hands, right? That's a complicated system. Why is it a complicated system, the microphone? The microphone is some kind of machine, and it is complicated to us, at least for our friend Cliff, who didn't have a clue what happened. You noticed that? He didn't have a clue. Actually, nobody in this room apparently had a clue, otherwise the problem wouldn't have persisted for so long. And we would have fixed the microphone, but it is complicated for us. We do not understand it. Complication or complicatedness is the measure of a lack of knowledge or information or capability of fixing something. A complicated system like a watch or a microphone, it works, it is stable, it is externally controllable, or it is broken. Oh, thank you for taking this one. A complicated system, this is a complicated system as well, my trigger here to pass the slides. A complicated system, left side, watch, microphone. It is stable, it is predictable, the parts interact in foreseeable, constant ways, or it is broken. Yeah? Now, a complex system has other features. In a complex system, it may also have lots of parts, but the parts interact in unstable, unforeseeable ways. The interactions between the parts change. That's why a group of software developers, or a team of software developers is a perfect example of a complex system. A complex system creates something that a complicated system never creates. What is that? What does a complex system create that a complicated system never creates, never causes?
Chaos.
Chaos, uncertainty, unpredictability, all that is correct, but not precise enough. I would like to offer you a word that is more common, yes? Something new that is also correct, but the words. I would like to suggest you the following, a much simpler word. A complex system generates surprise. Of course, that is all related to uncertainty here. New things. A complex system creates surprises. Now, the microphone didn't cause a surprise, it is broken, it's fucked up, you know? But a complex system creates surprises. The weather, You don't know exactly. Nobody knows what the weather will be like in 2 hours or in 2 days or 2 months.
Economy.
The economy is a complex living system, exactly, creating surprises all the time. And the political system, oh my God, in Greece. Boom! Yeah. Yanis Varoufakis, highly complex. Also crazy and lunatic, but yeah. So we get the ideas, right? Very nice, thank you. Also, by the way, a burning candle, a candlelight is also a living complex system. It is not alive, but is living. It creates surprises. Try it with a candle. Irritate it, confuse it. It may break, you know, the candlelight. You may turn it off, but if the candle is still burning, then it does tricky things. It adapts in a living, complex way to changing circumstances. So what killed management from the 1970s on is complexity. Now, you cannot read the slides, so I will try to walk you through the logic of why complexity killed management 40 years ago. Work always has 2 parts. Work also has complicated parts and complex parts. The trouble creeps into an organization when we try to solve complex problems with complicated means. By the way, my friend Jürgen Appelo, does anybody know his work? He's a master of trying to solve complex problems with complicated means. You have to tweet that. I have never confronted him openly. Okay, yeah, okay. You know, we cannot, complicated problem. How does a complicated problem, how can you solve it? You have something that happens repeatedly, it's something that repeats itself, it's a problem that always comes up in the very same fashion, so what do you do with it? What do we do with it? Complicated problem. What do we do with it in an organization if it comes up all the time? We standardize it, we create a problem where we analyze it. Yes, first we should analyze it. And if we find it's really repetitive and so on, we can standardize it, we can create rules around it, we can eventually code it and embed it in the software to automatize it. Complicated problems want to be automatized. Yes? Complicated problem, like configuring a kitchen in your new apartment. One day I went to IKEA and they had a configurator. That was a long time ago, right? They had a configurator, and that was the moment that I learned that designing a kitchen is not complex. It is just complicated. And they had turned it, IKEA had turned designing a kitchen. What is when you understand something that was complicated and it's not complicated anymore? Oh my God, I can design a watch and build it. Now, obvious or trivial, simple. The complicated thing can be turned simple with the right analysis, the right method. There are lots of methods that Claudia will talk about later. Okay, now a complex problem, it cannot be automatized because it creates fucking surprises, you know. It doesn't repeat itself. There's always variation. There's difference. There's something new, as our colleague said. So you can never fix complex problems because you don't know about them. You know, they are new, they are fresh, they are alive, so to say. So, when management was invented, that was a very special world, a very special situation. At the time of Frederick Taylor in the industrial age, we had mass markets that were rapidly expanding, monopolistic, oligopolistic offering and market structures. So we had not even competition did we have. It was this world. That was the world of Frederick Taylor of management. That was the world in which we created project management. Slow-moving, dull, expansive markets, you know, exploding mass markets with mass market demand. So you could sell the same product like the Ford Model T car 1 million times, a couple of million times. Those were the days when you developed project management. The Gantt chart, for example. Henry Gantt was one of Frederick Taylor's close associates. So he took this idea that Frederick Taylor had developed of dividing work between thinkers and doers and putting the thinkers at the top to command the doers. He translated that into the sphere of project, into the realm of project work. Out came what we call project management, or what many of you call waterfall. That has always been a dead technology. It has never worked, as many people, smart people in the Agile community know. Why has project management never worked? Let's analyze this here. Let's go back to the theory. Why was project management a dead zombie baby already when it was born?
Because it combines complicated system with complex systems.
It combines complicated with complex, that's, yes, it mixes it up. And also projects, we set up projects when processes failed. When standards and the complicated fails, you know, the complicated solutions for complicated problems fail, we have to set up a project. A project is perfect for surprises. It is perfect for complex problems. But if we try to do project work with complicated means, Gantt charts, milestones, project plans, project managers on top and nobody else thinks, and you do not communicate much because everything can be standardized and controls through board meetings and big reports, then of course you kill the aliveness in your projects, you kill your projects basically, and you never get a solution out. So one might say that the whole notion of project management tools, the classic project management tools, they have always been stupid. Because they ignore the nature of the problem that we have in projects, complex problems. So this was the time when project management was invented. By the way, before the industrial age, we didn't have massively expanding mass markets. We didn't really have markets in the modern sense. In the so-called manufacturing age, what we had were artisans and workshop companies and small manufacturing companies that produced small-scale, individually crafted, customized products. So we didn't really have standards. We didn't have a lot of the part of the work that was controllable, that was complicated, was actually small. Was actually large because in the manufacturing age, because we had to be craftsmen and work for individualized customers. Was complexity high or low in value creation? Let's check it again, because I just created a confusion. In the crafts age, when you were building violins here in Athens, for example, violins or chairs, was your value creation highly complex or was it more complicated? Was there a lot of complicatedness in it? A lot of standardization possible, or was it complex, alive, surprising? How was it? Value creation?
Complicated.
Let's check it. You all found post-its on your chairs, right? Pick the pink post-it, please. If you think that value creation in the manufacturing age, everyone found a post-it like this. If you do not have a post-it, there are some post-its on the wall. You need a yellow one and a pink one. If you think that in the crafts manufacturing age, crafts manufacturing age, if you think that
violin or a car?
violin, there were no cars in the manufacturing, well, only at the end. Yeah? If you want to build a violin in Athens, was your value creation in the crafts age, crafts manufacturing age, was it highly complicated? And please hold up. Complicated? More complicated? More complicated than complex? Okay, we have maybe 20, 30 post-its. Was it more complex? Was value creation for the violin maker more complex? Then raise it up. Lots of people didn't hold up the post-it at any time. That is fucked up. What happens? We have a silent majority here. Okay, you're not sure. I confused you. You haven't found the post-it? They were on the chairs. On the top of it. Okay, in the crafts manufacturing age, complexity was high actually, and complicatedness was low. This is the time of the crafts manufacturing age. We call this phenomenon, this historical phenomenon that you see here, the Taylor bathtub. The Taylor bathtub shows that, well, before the industrial age, with this highly customer-centric, individualized, customized production, extremely deep, extremely deep value creation processes. If you wanted to produce a violin here in Athens, you had to produce the wood as well, and the toolings. You had to produce them for yourself. You had to make everything for yourself, basically, because you couldn't ship anything from Asia. The shipping technology at the time didn't even exist. In the industrial age, what happened was that we got those logistics technologies, you know, the steamboats and then cars, and of course railways before that, then the car and so on. We also got production technology, starting with the steam engine again, and then moving into automatization and so on. So in the industrial age, what happened was that markets changed, and the technologies we had changed as well. And for the first time in human history, we were able to drive out complexity out of value creation. We were able to dramatically reduce, with Tayloristic methods, with management methods, we reduced complexity to a minimum. We drove it down, and the complicated part of value creation was bigger than the complex part. We had little surprise in a Ford manufacturing center, in a Ford production plant. You could spill out the same product over and over and over and over, and that was just fantastic. Problem is that this is done. This is over. This age is over. This is done. Okay, we cannot return. We cannot drive back into the past. It doesn't work. Yeah. When the industrial age ended in the 1970s or so, complexity turned back. It came back into value creation. It came back into work. Also, historically, many of you work in software development. Software development is actually part of this movement to, okay, now you can automatize the complicated part of value creation, and people can focus on the complex bit of work. So that came back, customization came back, markets turned denser, less fast growing, more competitive. So if today a company in Sweden has an idea, tomorrow that may hurt any company on the globe, including in Greece and the US and in India. Today's markets are fast-moving, dynamic, dense, highly competitive. Highly dynamic, and the complexity is back. So we're just where we started off in the manufacturing age. In terms of complexity, welcome back complexity. Yeah? And of course that you all are sitting here is part of this struggle. How do we, what the hell, right? We in the industrial age, we all adopted Tayloristic command and control management, pyramid management from the top, sorry. We started steering from the center. It all worked so well during the industrial age. And now the Toyotas come along in the 1970s. Does anybody here remember Toyota, the 1970s or 80s? Well, the old guys here can hold their hands up, yeah? We still remember it was called the Japanese miracle. There was a company in Japan, these Toyota guys, they were capable of doing mass manufacturing in a customized way. Every car they produced could be different than the other one that was produced right before or right after. They solved the code of doing mass production in complexity. They actually designed their whole system for complexity. Now the trouble is, we didn't learn a damn thing from that. I mean, we're just starting. You're just starting. The software community only started 15 years ago to adopt those practices. That's why we talk about Lean, Kaizen, Kanban, all Toyota vocabulary. It all comes from Toyota. Right? Claudia, he is an expert on Toyota. We love that company, but nobody can learn. I mean, we are stuck for a few reasons that we will discuss. One of the reasons is we still believe in command and control. We believe in the pyramid. Any questions? 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 Comments? Counter arguments? You can question. Okay? I will move on, and maybe if you have a question, you can ask it immediately, okay? There will be no time at the end for questions. Ah, that's one. Okay, there's a question. Yes, tell it loud. Speak it out. Please. Yes, the microphone's coming. That's a fucked up microphone, but we try.
Yeah, but it's okay.
You're focusing on the time. You said that times have changed now. People on the bottom can think. Is that what you said? Or you didn't say it yet, but you're going to say that.
Very good. Very good. Oh, you can predict the future. Very good.
Most of the devices we hold right now in our pockets, our cell phones, etc., are built by people who don't have to think. What I want to say is, it's not that times have changed. Some industries have changed. Okay, software development, I have to think. I cannot just type what you said, I need to type. But when I got to build a cell phone in a factory, no one wants to think. Does this apply in every industry, or has to apply in the future, or is it just, I mean, it's not a time issue. The time has not changed for every industry. Some industries are still, people on top are thinking, okay, let's build an iPhone, and people on the bottom are building iPhones.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you. And he had the nerve to ask a question. Very good, very good. Thank you. Now, you're totally wrong, okay? I always say that. It's one of my, I'm a consultant, and I love to tell this to my clients. I heard it, but it's totally wrong. Let's talk about it. Of course, this is not meant as an insult. It's a great observation, and it's also a terrible prejudice, what you just said. Let's look at Toyota, cars. Is it a boring product?
No. Yes.
We don't know, it depends on your taste, right? But a car is just like a cell phone. It's highly commoditized. This now is highly commoditized 7 or 9 years after its creation. You know? Cars are highly commoditized. Everyone can produce a car, as Tesla just showed, you know. Everyone can do it. It's, you know, it's trivial somehow. It's not even complicated. Okay, but I'm joking a little bit. But if you look at Toyota versus Fiat, Ford, Chrysler, Daimler, Volkswagen, etc. If you compare Toyota with those other companies, they all produce cars, right? So it's all the same boring commoditized car. What's the best company among those companies? Well, the benchmark used to say, and it used to be, and it is still Toyota. They produce better cars, have more motivated people, they have more margin, they are respectively in their niches more innovative, they have more satisfied customers. It's the better company. And it's still the same boring product. And one of the secrets of the Toyota model is that everybody has to think. I do not really want to answer this question directly that you asked, but I would argue that even doing very boring things like producing cell phones and cars, it's better to have everyone thinking than to have thinkers at the top. It makes a tremendous difference. Not so much just in the product, but in the way the value creation happens. Not sure if you can relate to that. I will give you a few hints about why that is so. Of course, the provocation was the first, you know, you were wrong, but I will try to argue about that and explain to you a rationale why we should give people the thinking back. The industrial age is over, we have to decentralize thinking and decision making. The reason, you cannot show it in an org chart or the pyramid chart of an organization. In a command control logic, there's no way to build thinking into the entire organization or real people. You actually don't want people there. But from a complexity point of view, an organization doesn't even have tops and bottoms. It doesn't have a head and an ass. Organizations don't have heads and bottoms. Organizations have inside and outside, period. From a systemic point of view, the org chart notion of top down, bottom up, and both sides, and bottom is just ridiculous. It is trivial. It is not even complicated. It is just an abstraction of the organizations that is important for compliance reason, you know, for the law and so on, and for account keeping, but not for creating value. Value creation works differently. For that, let's pick up an idea from systems theory. Organizations don't have tops and bottoms, they have center and periphery. And they always create value for the market. The market is outside, and inside the organizations there are two parts, center and periphery. What's the difference between center and periphery? Can you see it? Only one of these things, center or periphery, has direct market contact. Easy to see, right? The center doesn't have direct market, it doesn't touch the market, it doesn't have market contact, which is why who should be in charge today, in today's markets? Who should be in charge? Who? The periphery. Let's get back. Markets have changed. They are dense, dynamic, highly complex, surprising. In the industrial age, what you could do is you had different conditions. Markets were wide and slow-moving, little competition. In that era, you could steer the organization from the inside out. It's not centralized steering. When markets become more surprising, steering collapses. That is a systemic fact. Steering collapsed a long time ago in the 70s. We actually outsourced steering to the markets a long time ago. Now that is something that managers simply shouldn't do anymore within an organization. Steering is a stupid, it is a zombie idea from the industrial age. It doesn't work anymore. It worked, but it doesn't anymore. Period. Okay? What we need now is, if markets are in charge, then we need to decentralize decision making to the periphery. Do you see it? Then the periphery listens to the market, touches the market, can think and act and react, and if the periphery needs some help, then it can get help where? From the center, but only then. The center in a great organization, organized for complexity, the center doesn't steer. It helps whenever the periphery needs them. And then maybe the periphery pays the center so that the center can survive, otherwise they have to downsize. See the difference? So this is not a question of taste, or of being modern, or being cool as Spotify is, apparently. This is a question of survival in complexity. And only a few companies have figured out that decentralization of decision-making to decentralized autonomous teams is not an option. It is not an option. Yes?
In the Toyota company, I would like to ask, which is the department that has really access to the market, that they understand that when
In Toyota, what are the departments that really have access to the market, direct market contact?
Yes, this is a very simplified figure.
This is a simplified figure, he says. That is an insult. And I don't take that lightly. We will have to fight over a beer in the afternoon. Is there beer or something? Uso? Okay. Okay, thank you for the simplification insult. I don't think it's simplified. In Toyota, what they would say is, who's in charge at Toyota? What are the teams that touch the market?
Well, some of those teams are using Lean Startup these days.
Then I don't want to translate. I didn't want to say that. No. The point at one key notion of the Toyota model is that you don't have supervision, you don't have production planning, and you don't have powerful people steering the production line. What is steering the production line at Toyota? It's one thing. Demand, that sounds a little bit vague. The customer order. So you buy something from Toyota and then that drives the production line. That was, Toyota basically invented that principle, and of course in Agile we adopted that, right? Not always consequently, yes? There's design issues there. And not all of us do that well, but the idea is that the order, the customer order, the real customer order, not some marketing department or sales department, they don't steer. The customer order induces the production line to produce something. So these people, they are in touch with the periphery. The order meets the production line and that drives production. It's very simple. It's the market, so to say, it's the client order that drives the organization. And at Toyota, you want to get everything out of the way that would create a barrier to the flow.
What drives the demand, though?
What drives demand?
Because when demand starts...
That's a great question, and the answer is simple. Nothing drives demand. Demand drives demand. Demand is... That's very good. We can have a chat about that. Let me move forward. It's a good question, but of course, nothing drives. We cannot drive demand. In today's markets, we cannot drive demand. What we can do is to remove all barriers to flow. We can remove all functional silos. We can remove stupid interfaces. We can remove bureaucracy. And we have to remove centralized steering. Now, I will give you a hint. This is the organization of the present and the future. If you think that your organization is a pyramid, think about it again. Actually, in every pyramid there is a peach, as I like to say. This looks a little bit like a peach. Every organization has a value creation structure like this. The funny thing is that we don't understand often. Spotify seems to understand it with their structure that we saw. Most organizations do not even know which are the teams that actually are in the periphery and in the center, and how value creation works. Value creation structure is a big secret. Or it's an immobilized muscle of the organization. Because formally, we play the pyramid game, command and control. Managers supposedly steering, but that is really fake. Organizations have become theaters in the knowledge age or the information age of today. Organizations have become theaters, most of them, in which the official, the visible part, the stage of the organization is very much different than the backstage. Our friends from Spotify, they talked about that their gap between what managers say and what the organization really is smaller than in most organizations, right? That is essential. It is small. It should be, there shouldn't be a difference. It should be the same play on the stage, and on the backstage where the real action happens. And we haven't really figured out how to do that. One reason is that we haven't given decision-making really back to teams in most organizations. Spotify is struggling with that, Google is struggling with that, Southwest Airlines is struggling, everyone struggles with that. But this is what we have to do. We have to get from top-down steering to self-organizing. And self-organization doesn't mean chaos, as we have learned from the Spotify example. We also have to move from central coordination, bosses coordinate action between teams that are below them. That's a wasteful and expensive idea that nobody can afford anymore in complex and dynamic markets. We have to move to dynamic coordination between parties. How do we call that in an economy? The left, the right part, how do we call it? The model below and on the right, how do we call it in a market? We call it the market economy. And the left thing, we call that a Soviet-style, communist, whatever economy. It doesn't work. Centralized steering doesn't work in complexity. And we also have gotten used to departmentalize. For example, is there any organization here, or are you a member of an organization that has a sales department? Sales department. Not you being in the sales department. Lots of your organizations have sales departments, right? Sales departments are flawed thinking turned structure. No organization in this world should have a sales department. Never, ever. It is like separating the developers from the testers or other stupid stuff like that. Or the creative people from the producer. It doesn't make sense. Functional division made a whole lot of sense in the realm of complicatedness of the industrial age. Standardized procedures, and then you could steer the silos from the top down. Now we need decentralized autonomous teams, self-organizing and being responsible to the market within boundaries. So how do we make the change? And that's one fucked up barrier to change that I want to get into with you a little bit more deeply. One of the questions is, can we not learn anything from Toyota, etc. in these other countries? Do I still have time, by the way? How much time do I have? Who are the organizers? Come on. Yeah, go on. Yeah. Coffee break?
The floor is yours.
Okay. Let's use a little bit of time for this. 55 years ago, one of my heroes, Edwards Deming would be one of my heroes. Frederick Taylor is a hero too, but his age, it's gone, and he's not here to update his theories. But one of my big heroes is Douglas McGregor. 55 years ago, he published a book called The Human Side of Enterprise, in which he said, something very interesting. He said, we have two perceptions of human nature that we hold in our minds and our hearts. Who here knows this concept? It's called Theory X and Theory Y by Douglas McGregor. Anybody knows this concept? Okay, a few of you, that's good, don't worry. Nothing bad will happen, but you need the post-its. If you don't have a pink and a yellow post-it, there are some on the wall. Get post-its from the wall. Everybody needs now a yellow and a pink post-it. But first, I will present to you the two concepts here. Douglas McGregor said, we think that there is not just one kind of human nature, we think there are two. One of them is called X, one of them is called Y. Theory X works like this. People dislike work, the left side. People dislike work, we don't like work. So we will try to do anything to avoid work. We will try to avoid work whenever we can. People must be consequential. As a consequence, the role of managers, of course, becomes to force and bribe people to make an effort. We have to force people, seduce them, bribe them, steer them, give them orientation. We have to force them to take on some responsibility. We have to externally motivate them. This kind of concept, motivational concept behind Theory X is intrinsic motivation or extrinsic motivation? Extrinsic motivation. We have to extrinsically motivate people to make an effort. Yeah? And then there is another cool assumption in Theory X that says creativity. Few people have creative potential, except when it comes around circumnavigating management rules. That reminds me of many things here. So Theory X basically says, it doesn't judge people as dumb or so, but it says you really have to make an effort in motivating people. You have to drive them, extrinsically. Douglas McGregor says, but do you know this kind of theory about human nature? Rings a bell, right? Sounds familiar. Now Theory Y will also sound familiar, but it's totally different. Theory Y says people have to work to feed themselves and their loved ones, but they also want to take an interest in work. They actually want to self-fulfill. They want to fulfill their potential at work. And if they can do that, they can eventually feel fun at work, experience fun at work. If they get that self-effectuation, this growth. And what kind of concept lies behind this theory of motivation? Intrinsic motivation. Theory-wise says people are not to be extrinsically motivated, they are intrinsically motivated, they carry motivation around with them. So people will self-direct themselves with objectives and targets that they identify with. They will naturally take on responsibility if the circumstances are right. And theory-wise also says, well, about creativity. Creativity is widely present in people and little used or underused by organizations. You get that? Theory X, theory Y, they're different. They don't mix, never ever. Two theories that are different and clashing about human nature. Can you accept that for a moment? You try? I will probably dissolve this kind of doubt. We'll make an exercise to clarify this. And first, the exercise goes like this. 10 minutes? That's good. Take the pink post-it. Take the pink post-it. You need a pen. You only have to write one letter on the pink post-it, so you can also use somebody else's pen who's aside. Don't worry about it. Nobody will be harmed in this exercise. Pink post-it. Close your eyes. Look inside yourself. Judge yourself. Look into your heart. What kind of person are you? Now, don't judge your own behavior. Judge your own essence. What kind of person am I? What is my DNA? Am I an X person or a Y person? Ask yourself that. And write just one letter, X or Y, on the pink post-it. What kind of person are you? Try to be as honest, as brutally honest as possible. But again, do not judge your own behavior. Judge your nature, your human nature. X or Y. Only one letter on your pink post-it. Everybody did that? It should be simple. Any doubts? Any doubters here? That's okay. You can have questions. No? Okay. You just need one letter on the pink post-it, not two. That because they don't mix. You know, you're either a Y person or an X person. Is that okay? Okay. Now exchange the pink post-it with one of your neighbors. It doesn't matter who gets your pink post-it, but just exchange it. Some people say this is the best part of my keynote speech. Because you meet friendly people and so on. You exchanged it? Silence? Silence? Let's continue. That was easy. That was your self-awareness, your self-image, right? Your self-perception. Now we move on. It's getting more complex. Now I ask you not to judge yourself. Judge others. That colleague here, she said there are 150 people in your organization, so you think about those 150. Who's in a very large organization here in Greece? Who's in a very large organization? How many people?
Well, it's not Greek, so it's over 1,000.
Over 1,000. Very large. There might be even larger ones. Think about all people in your organization, or if you are a one-person company, think about other people you work with. It doesn't really matter. Think about that whole bunch of people, and now answer the following question by writing on the yellow post-it. Answer the following question. What is the percentage of theory X people within that crowd? Within your organization? It may be 150 or 1,000. What's the percentage of Xers? Now, very important.
The whole organization?
Yes, the whole organization. If it's worldwide, operational, cleaners, housekeepers, bosses, bosses of bosses of bosses of bosses, all of them. What's the percentage of Xers? Now don't judge their behavior, try to judge their human nature. What are they really, really like? Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. This guy. Come on, Okay, that's a percentage for those who studied sociology, philosophy, social sciences, or other fluff. A percentage is a number, it's a number, it can be 0, it can be 100, or something in between. Nothing else, not -5, not 100%. Is that okay? Everybody want the number? Exchange the yellow post-it with another person. Give it to somebody else and take that person's post-it. Okay, exchange it. Okay, let's check. Hold up your pink post-it note. Everybody hold up the pink post-it that you hold in your hand just to check. Hold up, everybody has to hold up the pink post-it notes. Pink post-it notes, all of them. Somebody held up a yellow one, this is great. Okay, just pink post. Okay, everybody has one, take them down. Now I only want to see pink post-it notes that say X. Only X pink post-it notes, up please. High up, high up, high up. There's a yellow one in the back, what are you? Okay, again, X pink post-it notes that say X. Take a look around, X pink post-it notes, just X's. 5, 6, 7 or so. Yellow, why do you hold up yellow post-it notes? What the hell, what the fuck? I lived in the US for a couple of years, I like to say this kind of thing. What the fuck? Okay, why the hell? Okay, we had very few X post-it notes, so I just statistically precisely, I round that down to 0, so that was no post-it. Okay, obviously. So let's move to yellow post-it notes. If you have 0 or 0% written on it, in the one that you now hold in your hand, right? If it says 0 or 0%, hold it up, please. Zeros or 0%. Look around, this is important, keep them up. We have maybe 10 yellow post-it notes, or 12 or 15 or so, okay? Do you see the problem? As the Americans say again, they say, we are all fucked. Because of that. The problem is, how can you do Agile? How can you do self-organization? How can you do decentralization? How can you do autonomous teams if you believe that all others, or many others, or some others, are basically stupid?
Lazy bastards.
Lazy bastards, as the Britons say. Yeah? Look, the problem with this is 55 years ago. I will try to keep this short. We can discuss it in the coffee break. But the problem is, already 55 years ago, Douglas MacGregor told us that we have the theory X image in our mind and the theory Y image of human nature in our minds. Only one of these theories matches reality. Unfortunately, no, not unfortunately. The theory X human being has never existed, doesn't exist, will never exist. It is just a prejudice about other people. That's what it is. It's a prejudice about other people. That's why nobody thinks I am X. Nobody except the 5 people that I will have to have a little therapy outside with. In the coffee break. It's a misunderstanding. I explained it lousily. Okay, that's okay. But, you know, we all know we are Y people, but we don't trust others because they behave within stupid command and control systems. So we actually, if we start believing that there are X people in the organization, what does that do to us? We have to take care that those X's are controlled. We have to put practices in place. It's like the relation between a hammer and a screw. You know, if you think a problem is a nail, you use a hammer, and if it's a screw, organizations are like that. We distrust some of them because there's behavior that we don't understand, then we distrust, then we do some things like making a budget or doing annual reviews with people, you know, or funny things, or give them targets and bonuses. And then we see more of that terrible behavior and we say, oh yes, I was right. They are just stupid ex-bastard idiots, you know, and then we do more. So the problem is that theory X is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Until we have gotten rid of theory X prejudices within our heads, we cannot make change or the Agile organization happen. Theory X is the antidote to Agile. Theory X beliefs are the antidote to decentralization, to autonomy, to personal growth, to effectiveness, to performance, to quality, to trust, to all of that. Actually, theory X and blaming are very much 2 sides of the very same coin. Now, look at theory X practices. These are practices that we produce because we confuse complex with complicated, and theory X with theory Y. I call this slide the $1 million or €1 million slide. Because even a small company can save €1 million a week, a month, or a year by eliminating these bullshit practices that are all based on theory X, sloppy thinking, prejudices about other people. All of these are practices that we know. You know them, right? You've heard about them. Maybe you call them slightly differently in your company. They're all the same stupid, mechanistic, theory X-induced stuff. They all belong on the garbage heap of history. If we only get rid of all these practices, we will already flip organizations to a totally new state. We also need better structures, radical decentralization. We need agile practices. But these are the enemies. And of course, many behaviors that we know that are not under the system. There are hundreds, literally hundreds more of these damaging practices that we have to let go of. Is that clear? Because these are based on flawed thinking about performance, about organizations. These are some of the leading organizations, I think, that have gotten rid of the stupid practices, that have transformed and decentralized. Yes?
The last slide, please. What's wrong about bonuses?
What's wrong about bonuses?
Yes.
That's the most obvious thing. Bonuses work for what kind of people? X's. Because X people are driven by money and fear. Bonuses are perfect for both. Money, I will give you a bonus. Fear, I can take it away from you. Money, bonuses, not money. Bonuses are based on the assumption that I have to drive people's behavior by money. I have to put the carrot in their face. They are just donkeys.
So you
No,
don't believe...
bonuses, that's you don't want to.
No, it is.
But let me say what I mean.
If you don't want to believe it, that's another problem I understand.
Bonus, for me, my definition is if the company had great results, then they give a bonus, and if not, they cannot.
Okay, now you are sloppy, you're sloppy.
Why?
That's how I work as a consultant. It works. He's smart. He's smart. Very good. Now we have the opportunity to clarify. You said a bonus is when the company has great results and everybody takes a share. Wrong word for the right thing. You are right. Sharing results, result sharing is a great idea. It doesn't induce people, it doesn't manipulate people's behavior. But don't call it bonuses. Sharing results is not a bonus. Very good, very good point. Yeah. Please, we have to be very precise about what we say. If you say bonus, all of kinds of movies go on here in our heads, right? Very good point. So sharing results, great. That is consistent with theory Y, but not a bonus. A bonus is always linking money to a target, or to do this and that. And then you get it, yeah? Okay, that's a wonderful start for the... These are some leading companies. Of course, we cannot learn anything from all these great companies. I think Spotify is here as well, if I'm not mistaken. We cannot learn anything from these companies until we get rid of theory X thinking in our organizations. So please, stay tuned on that and work on that. And I will have to jump to... We have to work not on command and control. We don't have to improve command and control. We don't have to improve planning or estimating. Estimating is just also stupid, looking into the future, cannot work, surprises complexity. We should let go of practices that can never work and move towards practices that can work and do more of that. And also eliminate the practices that can never work. Like having a sales department and steering individual salespeople with bonuses and targets and management by objectives and a pay-for-performance culture. All that belongs in the garbage heap of history. So we have to move from command and control concepts of driving performance to building better organizations that can create performance. Autonomous teams can create performance just because they understand the market and want to do something because they are theory-wide people. Thank you very much. We have to move from the left to the right, from pyramid to peach, from command and control to contemporary organizations. And the fun thing is that this isn't even hard. We just have to understand the difference between complicated and complex, and that the only resource we have in all our organizations, here in Greece, in Germany, in the US, everywhere in the world, are theory-wide people. Thanks so much for your attention.